Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Trading Kuminga for a center and a defensive player is an excellent idea, allowing the Warriors to improve in size. Jonathan Kuminga's long-term future with the Golden State Warriors continues to be a topic of conversation. The explosive forward spent all summer locked in negotiations with the franchise, and has recently fallen out of Steve Kerr's rotation. The consensus is that Kuminga will eventually be traded by Golden State. In a recent article from Clutch Points, Bailey Bassett proposed a deal that would land Kuminga with the Phoenix Suns. The trade idea looks like this. Warriors get Jordan Goodwin, Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, and a second-round draft pick. Suns get Jonathan Kuminga. Nick Richards is expendable, Bassett wrote. The Warriors just so happen to desperately need center help. Tracy Jackson-Davis and Quinton Post are both playing fewer than 20 minutes per game, and neither of them offers enough interior defensive help. Al Horford is finally back from a battle with sciatica, but at 39 years old, he clearly isn't the player he once was. They have an overall need for depth that would be improved with this trade, too. Adding Richards would undoubtedly solve an area of need for Golden State. Furthermore, the addition of O'Neal would give Kerr some additional wing defense off the bench, along with some catch-and-shoot floor spacing from deep. Warriors would need to create roster space. One area where this proposed trade falls short is that in order for the deal to make sense, the Warriors would need to open 2 roster spots. Kerr's team is currently at capacity, with 15 players under full-time contracts and 4 guys on two-way deals. Furthermore, even the end-of-bench talent has been impressive for the Warriors this season. Pat Spencer and Will Richard have both had their moments with the second unit. Therefore, it's hard to envision Golden State cutting players loose when they've proven themselves viable in limited minutes. It's also important to note that the deal skews toward favoring the Suns. The Western Conference franchise was among the teams with reported interest during the summer. Warriors will seek best value in Kuminga trade. While the proposed trade undoubtedly addresses a need for the Warriors, it's fair to wonder whether better deals will be available. After all, Richards is a solid big man. Still, he's not the sort of talent who will swing a championship push. According to a December 29 report by Mark Stein, Golden State will seek to maximize its return on Kuminga, should it seek a trade. The Warriors are known to be determined to find the best possible trade headlined by Jonathan Kuminga and his $22.5 million salary, with a $24.3 million team option next season, once the out-of-favor swingman becomes trade-eligible on January 15, Stein reported. Right now, it's hard to gauge what the Warriors would consider as an ideal trade for Kuminga. However, it's likely a move that would improve the team's chances of contending both now and in the immediate future. The current roster is built toward immediate success. For that reason, a package centered around Richards and O'Neal is unlikely to move the needle for Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy Jr. Warriors must avoid a disastrous mistake with surging Michael Porter Jr. rumors. Did we learn nothing from Dennis Schroeder? The Golden State Warriors have been linked with Michael Porter Jr. ahead of the trade deadline. In some ways, this might seem like a necessary move were the option to become available. He's had a resurgent year as the primary offensive weapon for the Brooklyn Nets, averaging 25.8 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 3.3 assists while shooting 41% from three-point range. He has played his way into becoming a hot commodity in this year's trade market. The Warriors, therefore, could consider trading for a player having a career year in Brooklyn in an effort to supplement their offense. Sound familiar? Golden State attempted this last season with Dennis Schroeder, and the move failed spectacularly. While Schroeder and Porter are very different players, the Warriors must learn from the mistakes they made last season, instead seeking out a piece with a more clean and obvious fit at the trade deadline. Michael Porter Jr. might be undergoing a career resurgence, but the Warriors need to learn from past mistakes. After Schroeder averaged 18.4 points, 3 rebounds, and 6.6 assists while knocking down 38.7% from three-point range through his first 23 games in Brooklyn, The hope in trading for him was that he could be a bona fide secondary scorer and ball handler next to or behind Stephen Curry. This dream was never realized. While Golden State's trade for Schroeder was not necessarily a complete failure, his salary ultimately enabled them to make the move for Jimmy Butler. It was clear that he never quite found his place on the Warriors roster. There will be debate over the coming weeks concerning whether Porter's uptick in production is a real step forward or merely a product of his increased usage. While he is scoring at a much higher clip, his usage percentage, 29.9, is up almost 10 points from last season, while his effective field goal percentage, 59.8, is actually down a tick from his career numbers. The Warriors need additional shooting. However, there are a number of players that can operate successfully in a vacuum in Brooklyn, capitalizing upon their place as the focal point of the offense. Golden State acquired one of these pieces last season, and he failed to integrate into the specific scheme that the team runs around Curry. With their championship window rapidly closing, the Warriors cannot afford to make the wrong move at the trade deadline. Porter, therefore, represents too high of a risk for them to repeat past mistakes. Mavericks initiated Anthony Davis trade talks with Warriors. As the trade deadline approaches, one potential blockbuster idea has surfaced involving the Golden State Warriors and Dallas Mavericks, but the interest appears to be far from mutual. Dallas has explored the possibility of a deal centered around Anthony Davis, reaching out to Golden State to gauge interest rather than responding to a push from the Warriors, according to reporting from The Athletic. A Butler for Davis swap works financially, as the Warriors forward also makes $54.1 million this season, but Golden State has shown no interest in making such a move, The Athletic's Sam Amick wrote. While team sources say the Warriors have not completely closed the door on the prospect of doing a Davis deal, it appears unlikely. What's more, it should be noted that the Mavericks called Golden State about the Davis possibility, and not the other way around. That distinction matters. While Anthony Davis remains one of the league's most impactful big men when healthy, acquiring him would require Golden State to part with a major veteran salary. Team sources indicated that moving either Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler is not something the organization is willing to consider. Dallas, however, is believed to have interest in a different piece of Golden State's roster. Jonathan Kuminga, who cannot be traded until January 15, has reportedly drawn attention from the Mavericks as a potential building block. While a league source said the Mavericks do have interest in the Warriors' Jonathan Kuminga, who can't be traded until January 15 but is widely expected to be dealt before the deadline, the fifth-year forward's salary, $22.5 million, comes well short of Davis's, $54.1 million, and would thus require the inclusion of another big contract, i.e. Green, $25.8 million, Amick added. Yet as Warriors coach Steve Kerr said publicly last week, and team sources confirmed, a move like that is simply not in their plans. Steve Kerr reveals why the Warriors haven't gone all in to get a superstar with Steph Curry. As long as Stephen Curry is playing basketball, the Golden State Warriors' goal is to win an NBA championship. Unfortunately, their team simply isn't good enough, or that has been the case this season at least. They could very well turn it around if they decide to buy in on another star to surround Curry. However, Steve Kerr reveals pulling the trigger on a deal isn't as easy as many think. It has been a gradual fall from grace since the Warriors won an NBA title in 2022. The following season, the Warriors reached the second round before the Los Angeles Lakers sent them home. In the 2023-24 season, they missed the postseason entirely. Last year sparked some hope within the franchise after they landed Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline. Despite a 48-34 record, the Warriors found themselves fighting for their playoff lives in the play-in tournament. Unfortunately, they suffered the same fate as they once did in 2023 with an elimination in the second round. Things have reached a new low as the Warriors hold an 18-16 record. Although Curry has tallied multiple outstanding performances, it is barely enough to lead the team to victory. It's clear the two-time MVP needs some help, but it won't be coming anytime soon. Warriors head coach Steve Kerr revealed the rationale behind the team's decision to be complacent for this long. All you have to do is look at some of these teams out there that have given up the world for a star player, and now they're looking around like the Clippers, no picks, Phoenix, no picks. Phoenix, no picks. Milwaukee, no picks, Kerr said on the Tom Tolbert show. Kerr certainly has a great point. All of the teams he listed are in dire situations because they tried to swing for a home run player. The Los Angeles Clippers traded their entire future to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Paul George. Fast forward to today, the Thunder have capitalized on that deal to build a championship roster, while the Clippers failed in their pursuit of a title with George. You can really paint yourself into a corner if you're risky and irresponsible, Kerr said. The Suns and Bucks suffered the same fate with their respective deals to acquire Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard. Golden State had the opportunity to do something similar with potential deals to land either Lauri Markkanen or Paul George. It makes sense why the Warriors expressed caution, but it doesn't change the fact that they could definitely benefit from the addition of another star. The team will certainly move on from Jonathan Kuminga, who may be enough to give Curry the help he needs. Hopefully, that's the case, or else the Warriors could waste Curry's final years in the NBA. Gue Santos proves why Warriors can make bold roster move other teams can't. The Golden State Warriors have gone 13 deep in their rotation over the last 2 games, with Steve Kerr leaning heavily on his depth to record back-to-back wins over the Brooklyn Nets and Charlotte Hornets. Young forward Gue Santos made a huge impact in Wednesday's victory in Charlotte, scoring 11 points in the second quarter alone on a perfect 4 of 4 shooting from the floor. The positive impact from Santos and others towards the end of the roster proves that the Warriors can afford to make a bold trade for another superstar when others in a similar situation can't or shouldn't. Warriors could thrive with 3 top-tier salary players. With today's CBA and the implications of the first and second tax apron, teams have gone against possessing a trio of superstars making maximum or near max money. The Phoenix Suns with their previous trio of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal have also provided a recent cautionary tale of why it doesn't work. This time last year the Warriors had depth but lacked top-end talent, addressing that by making a 4-for-1 trade for Jimmy Butler which completely changed the fortunes of their season. Now they're in a similar situation again, lacking strong enough talent around Curry and Butler to be a real contender in the Western Conference. Golden State could again combine multiple salaries to reach an opposition trade target making $40 million, or even over $50 million if they change their stance on veteran forward Draymond Green. The Warriors are in a better position than most to have 3 high-end salaries on their books for a couple of reasons. Firstly, owner Joe Lacob has shown a willingness to pay millions in tax. The new CBA really came in to prevent he and Steve Ballmer from continually raising the roof on their payroll. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s ability to identify rotational players out of nowhere has arguably been the highlight of his time as general manager so far. Not only is Santos a former late second-round pick capable of playing meaningful minutes, but so too their last 3 picks in the 50s, Will Richard, Quinton Post, and Tracy Jackson-Davis. Even Pat Spencer has developed to the point of being a rotation piece while on a 2-way contract. As presently constructed, someone like Santos doesn't play a whole lot. Yet there's also times when he does play where he's more impactful than half the roster, illustrating part of the problem that could be fixed by another consolidation trade for a $40 to $50 million player. If there's one team that can withstand the problems that come with having a trio of top-tier salary players, it's the Warriors who, with players like Santos, continue to show they've got capable pieces ready to step up at the end of the roster. Tends to defer a little bit when Steph is out there, Steve Kerr stresses Jimmy Butler's role in take load off Curry. The Golden State Warriors are a team that desperately needs to put together a strong run of form to make their postseason hopes a reality. To do that, they need everyone to step up, not just Stephen Curry. Fingers are often pointed at Jimmy Butler for being complacent, but Steve Kerr recently revealed what his role truly is. With an 18-16 record, one bad month could completely derail the Warriors' season. And Curry can no longer carry this team the way he did 4 or 5 years ago. He is now 37, and the wear and tear is real, which is why Kerr has been more deliberate in managing his minutes. Curry is being kept below his old workload to preserve him for the long haul. Fortunately, Kerr seems to have finally found the best way to keep his team fiery while Steph is on the bench. The former player-turned-coach spoke about this during a recent interview on the Tom Tolbert Show. Kerr was asked about Curry's load management and why Butler is a key piece of the offense when the three-point god sits on the bench. "Well, that's why we have Jimmy," began Kerr, who referenced the Warriors' recent win over the Brooklyn Nets on Monday to explain why the Jimmy Buckets rotation did well. "We didn't put Steph back in his usual slot at the end of the second. We let Jimmy play that run with some of the younger guys to bring energy. I think we were able to keep Steph around 29 minutes last night. This is precisely why the Warriors acquired Butler from the Miami Heat 1 year ago." Despite having a seemingly solid core of players like Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga, Curry was still doing most of the heavy lifting. With Butler, the offense can operate under an entirely different scheme, allowing Jimmy to rack up points in his own way. "What I found is that the more we can play Jimmy with a group around him that demands that he take over, that's when he's at his best. When he's with Steph and Draymond, I think he's such a smart player, he's such a conscientious player. He knows how good Steph is, so he tends to defer a little bit when Steph is out there," added Kerr. "It's not a bad thing either. Butler wants Steph to still feel like this team is his. But Kerr is right in believing that Jimmy taking over is what's best for the Dubs while the chef rests. The dynamic can be likened to a power back and a speed back in football. One player wears down defenders, while the speed back bursts right past them. If the Warriors are going to make real noise this season, this balance is non-negotiable. Curry can still cook, but asking him to carry the offense for 35 minutes a night at 37 years old is a losing equation. Letting Butler be the power back while Steph saves his legs keeps Golden State dangerous across all 48 minutes. And if that means fewer Steph flurries in the second quarter in exchange for more in April and May, it's a trade the Warriors would gladly make.